let's do the same. We're going to repeat for the next 4 servos here. You may want to grab a beverage or something while you're doing this. Alright, well, as far as progress goes, I mean, we've done, you know, pretty much the frame itself, the frame assembly, and some of the things here as far as the motor mounting and so forth to the motor block. But pretty much done all that in about an hour's time. So, as you can see, again, it goes together rather quickly. If it's your first build, it may take you a little longer, but if you've built, you know, other aligned products, or again, if this is your first build, you know, 4 to 5 hours on the norm for the, you know, the build is what you can kind of set yourself up for, and you can break it down into hour sessions or whatever suits your schedule. A lot of times don't have time to sit down and sit there for 3-4 hours at a time. Well, that's not a big deal, because you know, if you utilize the manual as included with your kit, you know, you will be able to follow along with that very easily and put it together at your leisure. So let's go ahead and put all this. There. Again, these are the new BL 815H servos, and you can be sure that these servos are really good, very efficient, and are being utilized by pretty much all the team aligned pilots that are out flying. Whether it be competition, demos, things of that nature, they're utilizing these servos. So these servos have been thoroughly tested as far as for extreme flight performance. And you know, if you're a demanding pilot that needs torque, speed, but also wants a servo that is efficient, and you get a lot of flights, the servo definitely provides all those things and more. So you shouldn't have any issues at all harnessing these servos for your flight. One thing I want to point out right here, that your tail servo does not include an aluminum horn. So just pointing that out to you, you'll either use a star horn on the tail, what suits your need per the instruction. So that's what we'll be utilizing on the tail there. Also comes in handy, you know, for if you crash on the tail. It's a sensitive area, so that's why the plastic horn works better. Oftentimes that will shear and protect your servo gears. So I'm going to just go ahead and we'll put the screw right there for right now. But that's for our tail. And the tail is the BL 855H. Alright, well, we got our servos, we got our grommets mounted. We also have the horns installed. They're not tightened down really at all, just installed the actual balls. Again, we're looking at page 9. We just finished up with page 8. And we're doing the cyclic servos installation. And let's see, let's put this here. Let's take a look at our frame. This to be upward. Flip this over. And then that goes like so. I don't know if you can see that, but that's plugs in. The face of the servo faces the inner frame. So we'll go ahead and get that started. And let's get a little Loctite here. Pop this in here. I'm going to go ahead and pre-install the screws here. So our servo is going to go in like so. It's going in, the face of it's going into the frame. And so what I'm doing right now is just go ahead and tighten these down. But when you're first locating the screw hole location, make sure you keep the screws a little loose. That way you can move the servo if you need to, just a little bit, just to get that screw in there, find the hole. Okay, there's that one. Okay. And let's see. Get that in there. Alright. So that screw in there. Okay, we'll insert this in the frame again. Applied Loctite to the screw. Get started. Top and bottom first. Let's get them started. Now that I got them started, this one, speed her up just a little. Okay, go back to hand tightening. I don't want to go all the way with that. Fast forward. Alright, so there's two of our cyclic servos in position. Alright. The elevator servo looks like so. Let's get a little Loctite. That's going to go on the top here like this, the ball right here. Tighten that down. Alright, this appears to go. Let's see. Double check that. That looks to go right there in the rear of the frame on the left hand side. Your servo right here. And your servo arms facing forward. Again, none of my servo horns are tightened down. That won't happen until I'm ready with my radio gear and I have my gyro in place and that sort of thing. But right now, just for position, that's where that goes. We're going to need some the self-tapping type screws. Definitely don't want to use my driver on that. We'll just use the hand tool. And I'm going to go ahead and install these screws. Let's go ahead and find our whole location again. Tighten these down. If you're building at home, I mean, you can, I'm sure you have your music on or have a beverage. Just kind of relax while you're building. No need to rush or anything like that. Just take your time when you're building. Enjoy it. I know there's a lot of guys out there that like building, dare to say, more than flying, and hey, you know, that's fine. But make sure you take your time when you're building, so that way when you get to the flight field, you're set up for success. You have a good time, especially if you want to fly and not necessarily want to go through the tinkering process, because everything that you need to do and do well and do correctly is right there in the manual. So the only thing I'm doing is we're doing it together here with what you see, you know, in your manual that's included with your kit. Again, this is going to be all stock gear that you'll see that I'm using. Alright, let's put this, that's for the tail servo. Let's see what it calls out for here. Alright, so we got our cyclic servos in place. Rear elevator servo, it's still a cyclic servo, but we have it's on the left side of the frame. And let's see, anything else? I think that pretty much does it for us there. The next item that we'll install, again on the left frame, will be we'll be putting in basically the tail servo. I'm going to do that first. There also is an extension that's included with your kit. That's what it's for. You'll have gotten that in your electronics component box. So there was an extension included. Go ahead and plug that in. So we already have that installed. And as far as the horns, we're going to be using the 4-pronged horn. And I'm going to use my pliers here and cut off the 3 of the tabs that aren't needed. I only need the 4th one here. Go ahead and install this, and we'll put this screw on here. And then I'm going to put the ball on the 3rd hole out, not the 4th hole, the furthest hole, but the 3rd hole out. And looks like it needs to be reamed out just a little bit, so I'll get my X-Acto blade. You can use a drill bit if you like. Not exactly work fine. Just a little bit. Just ream it out. Just a little. You don't want it to be loose. And drive that ball ink in here. And then there's a nut. We're going to go ahead and put a little Loctite on that. Cap that on the back here. Back this out. Use my needle nose pliers. Okay. Alright. Alright, so we got the ball installed on the third hole out from the innermost hole for our rotor servo. And again, on the left hand side of the frame, we're going to install, we'll install this. Let me flip this guy over. Okay, so it's going to face this way in the frame. So this will be the rear of the frame right here. Your boom will be this way on your servo. So we're going to stick that in here. Again, we're right on page 10 here. And we'll be using the self-tapping screws with the carbon plate. Insert that. And I'm just driving these into the screw hole locations that are already keyed into the frame here for us via the plastic. It's been injection molded with the carbon frames. Alright. Yeah, if you ever have any questions or anything as far as the build or the build process, you can always email me. My name is Jeff, and you can email me at jeff@align, that's ALIGNRCUSA.com, and be more than happy to answer any of your questions. But hopefully with this build, you get the gist of what's going on and what's needed to actually make the build happen. Alright, so let's see what we have here. It does recommend on this front portion of your frame here to sand it. It feels pretty good, like at the factory that they have done a little bit of finish work to here, so it's not very sharp. But if you wish to dull that or give it a little bit of a radius, you're more than welcome to use waterproof type sand abrasive and sand off the edges further. Right now I'm going to go ahead and get the motor ready, because that's what it's calling out for. So our wires are kind of just loose. We'll get our motor, and we're going to need to back out these screws. So let's do that. Pull these screws out. Let's drop this guy in here. The resistance you feel, or the cog for the motor, that's normal. So just so you know that there is cog. Let's see. Let's dip this in. It's coming together. Takes a little time, but not that much really, considering. And so far, you know, we have our servos in place, our motors in place. And we got a we finished up 10 cyclics, motor. All right, let's tidy up just a tad. Get all our wrenches and things in order, because we're starting the tail boom mount section here. That is item number 60HT1. So let's go ahead and open this bag up. Okay, this looks pretty much pre-assembled for us. We don't have to do a whole lot there. And we also have another bag inside of here, which is the 60HT1A. And it has a lot of screws and things like that. We're going to go ahead and again put that on my towel here, and let's see what we have here. Looks like some I'll call it out for you right now. Looks like some 3x12s. That'll be for the boom area here. So we'll go ahead and install these 3x12s here. Put this in. And I'll just drive these through. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and put the nuts in here. Minimize the number of things we have on the bench. Let's see, get that guy in there. Oh. Still happens even with the towel sometimes. Drop the screw here, or I should say the nut. Okay. Again, I'm not looking to tighten it down. I'm only looking to keep things from moving around on our bench top. Okay. Alright, so that's the tail box here. Let's see what we have. We got a short screw here. That's to retain your boom. Goes right here. I'm not going to put it all the way in. I'm just going to start it. Again, just trying to minimize the number of screws we have to look at here. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 screws there. Alright. And I can pretty much go ahead and install this. This is going to key right into your frame. Right here. It should pop right in there. There's keys right in the back of the frame here in the carbon tabs, and it will just pop right in that. Once you do that, you get some more Loctite here. I'm going to go ahead and install these screws, 6 per side. then, as I've done previously, I'll hand tighten with my wrench on all those screw locations. And we'll do the same on the other side here. Again, I'm going to dab out some more Loctite. Okay, 3 more screws here and we'll have this tail boom support area in place. And then after that, per page 11, we're going to take a look at the tail case for your helicopter. So we'll get into that here. Again, I'm going to hand tighten. Alright, so there's the frame. Boom support in place. Have a few wires here. We'll need to work out the wiring situation. But yeah, there it is. The servos installed. Pretty nice. Very nice looking. Alright, so now it asks us to bring out the tail assembly. So let's pull that out. And this is bag 55 HT. Alright, so let's go ahead and open this up. We have a set of tail blades, tail fin and a vertical fin and a horizontal fin, tail case, and then we have our torque tube, inner bearing support, and then also the rod guide support. Let's look at the 60 HT6 here. Alright, looks pretty much complete, and it is, I mean, as far as assembly. But what we want to do here, again, just like we've done in other steps, we want to disassemble this assembly. The reason being is we want to make sure everything's tight and Loctited. So let's get started on doing that. Go ahead and loosen up the tail hub here. Pops up pretty easily. Then I'm going to pull the slider off here. Okay. That pops out and then that whole unit just pulls away. So now we're just looking at this rear tail assembly right here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart. Okay. Put a little Loctite on there. Put that back in. Alright, so I went through 5 screws there, took care of that. We'll go ahead and loosen this up. That'll come into play a little later. Alright, so let's start reassembling this part here. And we'll start off with the Loctite here. Again, we want to just make sure it doesn't get on the race, any of the races or anything like that. So go ahead and put that on. And I just push the Loctite into the threads so that way it doesn't get on the bearing itself. Do the same on this side, and I'm going to work from the inside outward here as far as the screws. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it again. And just, like I say, work from the inside out. And I'm just doing one at a time as opposed to pulling them off and then trying to do it. So do one at a time, and again, make sure you don't get too much. You don't want to apply it to the inner race of the bearing. So it doesn't take that long to do it. And you'll be happy knowing that you went and inspected, everything, rather than just try to use it. Because again, you don't want to do that due to the fact that it's just an assembly, it's not built. So make sure you Loctite everything. Okay. Pull this ball out here. Yeah. It's using the inner hole on the tail here. So. Okay. I'm not going to mount the hub just yet. I'm going to leave that hanging off. But I'm going to take off these Phillips, again, one by one. and just put it on the thread. Do not get it on the shoulder of this shouldered screw. Just get it on the thread itself. On this one, the small black screw right here, I'm going to apply the Loctite directly to the actual screw, and I'll just get that grip. So you want to try your best not to get any on the brass bushing so it operates freely. Alright, let's do the other side here. Doing the black screw that goes into the grip. Yeah, just put it in the thread, the Loctite into the actual thread itself. And that way you don't get it on that brass bushing. Alright. Last one here, or last one for this yoke assembly anyway. It's again that brass screw just on the threads, not on the shoulder. Okay. All right. Before we go any further, we want to do something here. We want to take a look. Let's see. Okay. Right here, a lot of guys that I've met at the field or various events don't take the time to grease this area. You definitely want to grease it just like you did on the head itself. You want to grease these bearings here. Okay. Grease them. The cups face the center of the hub, and then the shielded side faces out towards the blade itself. Just remember that. And then also, just like on the head itself, on the race it says out. It's kind of hard to see in this shot here, but it says out, and you want that facing, again, the blade. So out is out. The shield should have grease. So go ahead and put grease here. Put that back down. And then those bearing, or should I say the part where it's open, the open face of the thrust bearing, you want to make sure just pack that with grease as much as possible. Then what you want to do is we want to get some Loctite. Get a little Loctite here. And I'll insert that directly on the threads inside of the grip here. Not that much, just a little bit. Alright, so now I have that greased up, super lube, drive that screw in, and I got the Loctite directly in the actual grip hub itself. Okay, tighten that down. Let's do that over here. Alright, so we have in right here, in, thrust bearing. We have the, again, the open face facing the inside of the hub. That goes face down on the in of the thrust bearing wall. And then the out, which faces your tail blades, faces out. So make sure when you reassemble, you want out facing your tail blades, and in again facing the hub. So let's get some Loctite on the hub. Got that all greased up. Get a little Loctite here. Yeah, make sure you only stick it inside the threads. Don't put any Loctite anywhere else inside of the grip area there. That wouldn't be good. But make sure you grease these. A lot of people just leave it tight and not bother to pull that off and grease them, but it does require grease. So make sure you do that. It'll give you a lot more longevity in your bearings, and you know, your tail will be a lot more effective if it's nice and smooth and free. Alright, let's go ahead and pop out some tail blades here, since we're dealing with this little area here. I'm just going to go ahead and pull these out real quick. Alright. Put our tail blades on here. So, yeah, it looks like we have some main blades. We have, you know, an ESC to deal with, some wiring, some boom. So, I mean, we're really close here as far as the assembly process. Okay. Put that there. I'm going to use my needle nose to help support the back of this nut here. So I'm going to go like so. I'll just tighten these down. But there's a little cut in the back of the grip arm there that will hold the nut once it's tight enough. And then you won't need the wrench. But I like to do that so that way it doesn't freewheel and it just catches on that little groove there. Let's see. Tighten that up. Alright. Nice and smooth. Alright. We have that done. we're going to need a little bit of oil for the boom to insert the bearing. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna go grab some oil so we can do that. And this bag I just opened up right now is 55HT12. Just 1 second. I'm gonna get some oil. All right, I just had to get some oil. I just got some 3-in-1 kind of multi-use oil here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the torque tube assembly and positioning that. Alright, let's pull this out here and take a look what we have. We got our torque tube, and within it were 2 ball links, the tail support for your rod guide, and a bearing and a rubber dampener that goes inside your boom. Right now, we're going to glue this bearing here, and what I'm going to do is, instead of it being dead center, I'm checking out our page 13 in our manual here. I'm going to offset it, so I'm going to measure here. 300. $31. Alright, so it's about 31.5 centimeters, and you have about 30 centimeters here, or 300 millimeters. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to CA this. I'm going to use some of my thin CA. Make sure you don't get it in your bearing race again. And I have a towel on hand just in case. And you want to make sure that that is basically perpendicular to the boom. You don't want it to be like cocked to the side or anything, so make sure that it is flat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some CA to the blade here with my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to apply that right beside the bearing here, keeping it away from the race. Okay, let's check my ruler again real quick. And again, you don't want that to torque off on you. As far as you want it to remain 90. I'm going to wipe the excess off here. We don't need a whole lot of glue. Just don't want to get it in the, again, the inner race. So that's it, just a quick splash of some instant CA. Make sure it's not cocked. We're going to go ahead and pop on this rubber support here. Alright, and then we're going to oil this. Okay, so we'll insert that into the boom, and we're going to lube this up just a bit. Let me stop it too crazy here. I'm going to put a little in here. Oh. On my towel, I'll wipe that off, the excess. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and grab my tail assembly here while I have it in my hand. We'll line this up. And I'm going to pull out 55HT13. grab out the vertical fin out of here. Okay. Let me drive this in a little. Alright. Alright. Okay. There's the tail boom with the torque tube installed. And just about right here. Where's my... that there. We'll install the ball link here. Go ahead and install that. Okay. Again, A is gonna will face you, or facing towards you when you snap on the ball link. Okay. Put the ball link on this side here. Alright. Or rudder control rod, excuse me. Want to glue that in position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this. Again, I'm using thin CA. It will wick in actually really well. So what I'm going to do is pull this back just a little bit, the sleeve, and then I'm going to slide that forward. And what I'm doing is making sure that I'm protecting the carbon rod on both sides for both extremes of the rudder control movement. And it tells you that in the manual there on page 13. So I want to keep that bushing, if you will, within the range of the rudder control movement. Alright, so there you have it. That's the tail. That's the tail pretty much complete there. Only thing we need to install is the horizontal stabilizer or horizontal fin. And this is bag